Let's talk about gear fear, and let's talk about why overcoming gear fear will be one of the keys that will really allow you to enjoy Marathon in its entirety. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to talk about what gear fear really is for those that are unaware. Gear fear is loss aversion plus uncertainty that's disguised as being smart. And some of the symptoms of gear fear are hoarding good items for forever, only running budget kits even though your stash is stacked to the brim, hesitating to take fights you really should take and be the aggressor in, and full tilting after dying with your best stuff equipped. Now, that last symptom is solely dependent upon the circumstances, but I think you all understand what I'm saying here. Now, let's talk about why you may even have gear fear in the first place. And there are a myriad of reasons, but I want to place an emphasis on most of the big ones per se. Now, your first why could be known as loss aversion, and the textbook definition of that is loss aversion is a cognitive bias and economic principle stating that the psychological pain of losing is about twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining, causing individuals to prioritize avoiding losses over achieving equivalent gains. So for those raids that you win some gunfights, complete objectives, and you get out unscathed, those feel good, but when you get into a gunfight and your team loses and you guys lose all that good stuff, it hurts twice as much. Another reason why we may have gear fear is known as the endowment effect. And to summarize this is when once you acquire something, like you get a good weapon and you successfully exfil, your brain inflates its value. So initially when you first acquired it off that dead body, it may have been here, but once you exfil with it, it goes to the moon. And now you don't want to take it in, or I should say take it back in. Another reason why we may have gear fear is because of the scarcity illusion. And this is when you acquire something and that thought runs through your mind no matter how slow or fast, but the thought is, wow, I can't believe I got this weapon or this mod or this core. What if I never get this again? So all we do is put it in the vault and we never use it again. We never even risk it because, oh my gosh, we may never see it again in our lifetime. You know, identity attachment, believe it or not, may be a reason why gear fear is a thing in you. And this is when you have this preconceived notion of, man, if I die with this really good kit, that means I'm terrible, you know, especially if it's to somebody that's on a bargain kit or a budget kit. And look, no matter who you are, we've all been there. We've all lost to the person that we had no business losing that gunfight to, knowing that we had a much better kit than them, but we give that more value for whatever reason, and that negatively impacts the gameplay for us, and we stop enjoying the game that we're playing, and it continues to snowball from there. And last but not least, some of that gear fear stows from the uncertainty tax that extraction shooter games have. It's like in an extraction shooter, you don't know what's going to happen. The game actually hides the future. You have no idea what's going to take place once you load into that raid, and the brain in this case fears that unknown. You know what I'm saying? So I would say most of us that do have our run-in with gear fear fall into one of those 5 categories. And quite frankly, this is something that we need to overcome because in Marathon, the gameplay loop is built on top of tension. If you could always protect your best loot, then yeah, the fear may go away a little bit, but so does the magic. You know what I'm saying? We lose that tension, and with the tension being gone, where are the stakes? The feeling that we're looking to get in Marathon disappears at that point. It just goes away into the wind. And I don't want that for you. I want you to fully be able to experience Marathon the way it should be experienced. So a question you may have that will follow this is, Cray, how do we overcome it? How do we overcome gear fear? Don't worry, I got you here, and I'm gonna hit you with a little 4-step process that I made up, all right? Step number 1, we have to reframe our gear. We cannot look at our gear as if we own it. We have to look at every kit that we bring into a raid as a rental, meaning our time with this particular weapon, these cores, these mods, these implants, whatever, that time could be up by the end of this raid or within the first 5 minutes of this raid, and that is okay. Remember, your job is not to keep a specific piece of weaponry or gear in general for forever. Your job is to convert that gear into progress, and that progress may look different for everybody. It could be progression with the faction, it could be acquiring more money, it could be doing an upgrade, it could be following the narrative, or it could be just to have fun and be silly with the homies. That progress is solely up to you. Step number 2 in overcoming gear fear is to build out what I would call a risk budget. Before you even queue into your first match, I want you to figure out what you are willing to lose on that day. I want you to look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm willing to lose X amount of weapons today, X amount of cores, X amount of implants. Whatever that number may be, that's up to you, of course. So be sure to set that number, and please, please, please never risk more than we can emotionally replace, especially too fast, right? If you are working to overcome this for the first time and you risk everything you have in your vault and you lose everything you have in your vault, you will be down horrendously. So feel free to set some numbers, and if you lose those things, then of course transition to some budget stuff from there. Now, kind of a sidebar there, something we can do is we can create 3 type of loadouts, right? We can call them loadout tiers. Tier 1 would be our warm-up kit. This would be something that we can jump in and really get the hands and the mind warm with, you know? Tier number 2, we can call it your work kit, all right? This would be your main kit that you would utilize for majority of your runs. And it would meet somewhere in the middle, something that is moderately replaceable, but something that would still suck a little bit if you lost it. And the reason why it would suck is because this is the best kit that you know how to fight with. And it probably costs a few extra dollars here and there, you know? And then tier number 3, we can call this your confidence kit. This is the kit that you bring in when you know you are fuego, you know you are winning majority of your gunfights, you're moving around, your squad is operating with the utmost cohesion. Go ahead and lean on this confidence kit because y'all are all killing it at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? So mentally divvying it up in those 3 tiers will help you be able to pick and choose and allow for you to risk accordingly. Step number 3 to overcoming gear fear would be what I call exposure training. So I would do something along the lines of instilling something, for example, a 10 deployment rule, okay? And in this rule, you're focusing on running the same kit 10 times in a row, at least as long as you can afford it. By you doing this, you'll stop treating deaths like there's some type of emergency, and you'll look at them a little bit more like data. You know, for example, every 2 to 3 runs that you die in, whether if it's against the AI or in a gunfight, look at that as a data point and ask yourself what could have been done differently to survive that particular gunfight. Now you're looking at it through a bit of a different lens, and you aren't having nothing but self-pity on yourself for losing that kit, you know? So your deaths become lessons and not something that we cry about at least as much. And then step number 4 in overcoming gear fear is just to simply change the win condition. So change that win condition from a successful exfil to something along the lines of taking 2 smart fights in a raid, practicing a successful rotation out of a gunfight, learning a specific POI like the back of your hand, improving in communications. And those are just to name a few. It could literally be anything in the world. And once you shift this win condition and you make your goal something along the lines of developing your skill or just enjoying yourself, losing gear can no longer break you. All you'll do is learn from it, laugh about it, shrug it off, and grab another kit to jump back in. Now, after you work through all 4 of these steps to overcome gear fear, we got to talk about the other side here, right? What happens on the other side once I no longer have gear fear, Cray? I would sit here and tell you, it pays off. You stop freezing in the middle of chaos. You start making clear decisions with little to no hesitation. You know when to take fights and or when to disengage. Every run you jump in becomes a bit more of a story, not a test of stress. And ultimately, you just feel free, man. When you're free, you can implement skills like calm aiming, your movement is nice and buttery smooth, the teamwork is beautiful because you're calming like there's no tomorrow, and the game just becomes so much more enjoyable as a result, man. So with that all being said, I truly hope this was helpful in some capacity. If not, I apologize for wasting your time, but if you enjoyed this, make sure before heading out, you like the video. It'll really help your boy algorithmically. Subscribe. I think there's some new thing called hyping a video. I don't even know how to do that, but if you know how to do that, I would appreciate it oh so much. Even if you don't, I appreciate you just for being here. I love you all. Thank you all so much for coming and watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.